can come back. And only if we felt strongly against something would we put in that they couldn't come back.
That's perfectly.
I think the point is to keep somebody from coming back every month with the same proposal, trying to wear us down and waste their
But it should have some kind of change to it, because
So
so
the default would be to allow it unless we go to the willing to take action to prevent. Anyway, that's for the future.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on item number 9, which was to consider designating the August 3rd, 2021 effective denial as being without prejudice in zoning case PZ 2021-0008RZ, which would thereby allow the applicant to reapply within a 1-year period. Is there any further discussion?
Or reapply with a different, case number, though.
Right, it would be a new application going for planning zone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
I'd still like to make a quick comment.
absolutely.
I want y'all to know that I love this city. I'm sitting here because I care about this city. We don't have to agree. I was very torn at the last meeting. I liked the proposal I heard, but I had heard from the citizens that that's not what they wanted, so I tried to do what the citizens wanted, and know that my heart's in the best place.
I'd like to know too, I don't know any other city that would move this fast. We go from P&Z to council to back here to back, and it's all gonna happen less than a month, probably. I don't know any city that moves that fast.
And then I want to
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment.
You're outrageous.
You know, I don't talk very often, but you give me these, let's see, what's the next holiday I'll be through? No, I appreciate everyone's concern. 17 years ago, we went through the very same thing with the townhomes on Roberts Cutoff with the trailer park. The city could control that property. We chose not to rezone it to anything until we fit best for the city. People oppose apartments. You look at that today, it looks just as good as it did 17 years ago. Talk with the acting chief, or the chief now and the previous. They probably had maybe 12 calls down there in 17 years. Code has never had to go down for violations. The quality of living in there is absolutely fantastic. So when I hear apartments, we got to forget apartments. Townhomes, look at like Summit Road, that's what's coming. The concern there was, hey, you've got 20 homes there. Believe it or not, there's 20 of them. 4 buildings, 5 in each one. They said, we can't get out on Roberts Cutoff. I challenge you to drive up and down that street all day long, see if there's a car coming out or going in. We got to open our eyes and see what's best for the city. You've got control of a piece of property down there right now. There's one house, an acre between them. There's another over 3 acres right there with the Surrey's property that nobody lives there now, and it's going to be on the market. I made it very clear, my acre and a half will be on the market. You get a townhome in there, a gated community, I'll sell in a heartbeat and buy one. I don't know about Mr. Henshaw and his property, but there's property there that can be developed. A quarter mile down the road, they're putting in a trailhead to go down to the river where you go to Crystal Springs or anywhere you want to go, a quarter mile away. Right there on 7 Callaway. Keep an open mind before you go and rezone something until you know for sure what's best for the city. 17 years from now, what we're talking about right now, you probably have code down there every day. Public service.
$400,000 houses, why would you think that? Why would you think that?
Look around. But that's potential. We know for a fact there's 20 homes on Roberts Cutoff does not have any effect, and it's absolutely as gorgeous today as it was. They put it in. Keep an open mind on development. Look what's developing around you.
You're saying the same thing I am. Keep an open mind when you go.
So one thing that would, to correct what has been said, is this is a PD-R4. That means that if we end up rezoning this, it only applies to this developer for this development. So it doesn't, no one else can come in if he sells it someone else, then it goes away. The rules are very tied to this specific thing, so I want to correct that from what was said earlier. The other thing is I want to defend someone changing their mind, because who of us hasn't made an initial decision, and then when there's more evidence, and then the only right thing to do is to set the record straight. So, you know, we don't want people to change their minds when they agree with us the first time. We want them to do it when they agree with us the second time. But I'm just defending Darren in that he was troubled at that initial meeting, he made it known he was troubled, and he did more homework, and now he wanted to do it. So I don't think we should criticize the man for rethinking his position. And I know Herman, I just happen to know Herman for many years, and he's changed his mind a time or 30, or more. Anyway, and that's the honorable thing to do, and the right thing to do. I just want to say that.
I'd like to say something as well. Everybody here is, wanting the best for River Oaks. I've been here 20-something years, and,
Newcomer.
I did.
You're a newcomer.
I am a newcomer. And with that being said, I've also, had a lot of people come to me and ask me and that say their opinions or whatever. I've also talked to a lot of the young adults here too that, would love to stay here, but they don't see any growth. They don't see anything happening. And so, of course, they want to move. And some of them don't want to move, but they want change. And that's where I saw.
Have they been down on Asbury and Manring Road and driving around the city and see these homes that are being built? And then they're very blind if they don't see anything happening.
Those are already spoken for.
Yeah, they are.
I understand.
Something that I was troubled with when this thing came to us, because I, like Darren, had heard different stories, and then when they came and they presented what they presented, I thought it was a very doable thing. It wasn't exactly what we wanted, but we're never probably going to get exactly what we want. But in the same regard, what young people want and what I have is different. We need to understand that. You know, we heard all that stuff talked about what's going on and what's on the road. It'll never sell. Nobody will ever buy it, and they're buying it as fast as they can build it down there. It's different. It's different than what is a norm for someone my age in Oakland. We have to look at every piece of property specifically that comes up and see whether it will fit or not. And this, like Steve said, this is still a PD overlay here. I mean, it only applies to this particular development. If it doesn't work and somebody else wants to put something else in there, then we have an opportunity to look at it. But what they presented to us that night, and I wasn't at PNC, but what they presented to us that night, I certainly thought it was very doable.
I don't disagree, but it should go back to regular channels so the people who live around there know what's going on, and that's what y'all are doing tonight. And that's what we're here for tonight, is get it back to the people. Get a letter in the mail today talking about this thing, that's not a notice. I mean, that's not a whole lot of information.
Well, in fairness
Nobody
to that,
much all seen.
you can't blame, you know this from sitting here for that many years, you can't blame staff for or council for the postal service. They sent those out.
I don't know what it was then, but that's immaterial. Nobody knows anything about it.
Will you and can you do what Betsy recommended last week about holding them to their feet about what they're going to build?
That's in writing.
Pictures have
That would be, that's
everything
part of the
on
plan
them.
development.
Because I'm guaranteeing you right now, I know most everybody in this room, and what everybody's not saying, but what they're thinking. We do everything. We're very visual. We're basically visual. We see. A lot of times we don't hear anything, but we see. Myself, when they first put this, to know, they talked about a lot. The houses there off Meandering Road, by the East Gate, that's disgusting, deplorable. And I've gone many a time, and every one of you up there know what Joanne and me and Shirley have done with trying to make code. We're scared to death. Everybody we're not saying it, but everybody is afraid. You've got a small lot most of us in here are not used to small, we've never lived on a small